everybody. It's nice to see you all here again today. Some familiar faces, some new faces. My name is Sharon Tjaden-Glass. I'm an instructional media designer for Sinclair Community College, and this is the Idea Networking Session, Instructional Designers and Educators Alliance. And we've been doing this for about a year and a half now, and I'm really happy to welcome 3 new speakers today. Their names are, we have first Christy Woods, and then we have Heidi Kirby, and then Rubina Halwani. And let's just say they'll speak in that order since that's how I introduced them. Each of them is going to have about 5 minutes to share their story about how they got into instructional design. While they're talking, make sure you write down your questions so you remember later on. And when we go to breakout rooms, you'll be able to select a breakout room for the speaker that you're really interested in. And so my first speaker is going to be Christy. So I'm going to find her and spotlight her.
Hey, so I'm going to do my best to tell my story in 5 minutes. I have a very convoluted story, I think, as most folks do when they get into instructional design. But my original career path was in counseling. I was going for a PhD in counseling psychology. And when you're in a PhD program, you get to do a lot of really cool things. And one of those things is teach. And so I taught undergrad students in psychology and like intro to college courses, and I loved it. And then I did research, and then I was like, oh yeah, I probably should counsel too. And I realized from that I loved other things besides counseling. And so I ended up switching. I left that program and went into an educational leadership program that was a master's program after I made the leap to higher education. So my higher education career started in academic advising. For me, it was counseling light. I'd already done a lot of advising with students from a faculty perspective. And so I started there in advising, and then I thought, I don't know, I don't see myself wanting to do counseling or advising forever. What do I want to do? And I was at Arizona State University as an academic advisor and attended a professional development seminar where the speaker was an instructional designer. And I thought, whoa, what is that? That sounds like a cool job. I don't even know what it is, but the name sounds cool. I had thought maybe I want to do graphic design. I really like teaching. I was still teaching as an academic advisor. Thankfully, that was part of my job. And so I met with her, and I networked with her and a few of her colleagues and thought, yep, this is what I want to do. So luckily my program in educational leadership had a certificate in educational technology and instructional design. So just tacked that sucker on and then just kind of went full force with it. I actually started applying for instructional design jobs before both my master's and my certificate were done. I actually just finished my certificate this past December. So I was in another mentoring program, and they said, people will often wait until they're 100% qualified, but you should just apply, go for it. And I thought, yep, I'm going to do it. So I applied for positions that had like 3 years experience required, and I had 0 years experience, but I had a lot of those different transferable skills to play off of. And so got to final rounds for interviews that I was definitely not qualified for, and then ended up taking an entry-level associate position in instructional design at ASU at the time. And then eventually decided, yeah, I think I'm ready for the full thing, and moved into that 9 months after that. So again, I started applying again because I'm like, yep, I'm ready for more responsibility. So I hope that was 5 minutes. My gosh, 5 minutes goes so fast. It's a very convoluted story, but now I'm an instructional designer at an art and design school in Colorado. I work remotely. Yeah, if you want to chat further, please feel free. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I didn't think that was too convoluted.
Good. Maybe I spark notes.
I think a lot of us kind of get to this field from another. Actually, that reminds me, I'm co-writing a chapter in a book called The Multidisciplinary Instructional Designer. And it's all about how people come from other professions to the field of instructional design. So I'm helping write the chapter about English. Me coming from the TESOL background, and my co-author is going to be writing about literature and composition in higher education. So we're kind of working together. It's fun.
Awesome.
Stuff. All right, Heidi, are you ready?
I'm ready, and that was a really good segue because my original college major was in English. So nice work. Yeah, so I graduated with a bachelor's degree in English, and I don't know, I was like 22. I thought I was going to be a writer or work for a media company or like, you know, do something really cool, copywriting or something. I think at one point I lied to my parents and said I was going to go to law school, and then was like, oh, by the way, guys, just kidding. And so unfortunately, when I graduated, there was a mini recession, and the only jobs I could find were at Old Navy and Hallmark. So somebody was like, if you go back and get your master's, you can teach college. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. Most of my professors were pretty cool. So that's what I did. And, you know, the month after I graduated, I got my first adjunct role. And so I started doing what I like to call the adjunct shuffle, where I'm teaching 4 different classes at community college, private college, for-profit college, and driving all over the Tri-County area, right? And so during that time, I was like, I got to get a full-time professor gig, right? So I went back to school to get a master's in education. And that's where I learned that instructional design was a thing that people did. And when I became pregnant with my son, that's when I really was like, you know, I can't be doing this whole adjunct thing anymore. I can't be having him at daycare, paying for daycare while I may or may not be working, right? And especially with adjunct pay, right? If you know, you know, right? And so I first started a PhD in instructional design, which is a little backwards, right? But I started a PhD program in instructional design because I had always like had a personal goal of getting my PhD. And I was like, this is definitely the field. And so a couple semesters in, I was like, I don't think I need to wait until I'm done with my program, much like Christy said, to find a job. Like I just need to fill in the blanks and upskill and learn what I don't know yet. And so I was able to, 9 months into my program, find my first instructional design role with NASA. And which was kind of crazy that NASA was the first place to take a chance on somebody who was an educator turned instructional designer. And so the last 5 or so years, I've just been kind of working my way up. I realized pretty quickly that like the day-to-day design work is cool, but I really like the big picture, like strategy, vision, project management, like all of the kind of leadership managerial duties. And so I kind of very deliberately hopped from job to job and let every new manager know that that's eventually where I wanted to be. And so last January was my first role with direct reports, and I just started a brand new role today. I have 2 and we'll soon have 3 direct reports, and it's still in L&D, but it's in like the cousin of L&D, customer education, which is really fun too. So just started my customer education manager role. And since I've been talking to educators the last year, I've missed adjuncting a little bit. So when my friend Cheryl told me that there was a opportunity to teach podcasting at the University of Florida, I definitely took that on as well. So I'm still adjuncting and working as a customer education manager.
Hi, everyone. So Rubina Halwani, and hello, Heidi, and hello, Christy, and thank you, Sharon. I have very similar backgrounds to the other 2 ladies as well. I started my bachelor's in English Ed, and then I thought I was going to teach for forever. I did teach for a few years at a middle school and doing 7th grade language arts. and getting really, really burned out at the end of every year. And after a few years, I wanted to see what else I could do with my career. And then I started segueing into different roles. I heard about instructional design along the way. I worked in corporate, in business, in higher education, and then eventually got my master's in ed policy. Instructional design wasn't as big at the university I was at. It was still just developing, so I was a little bit too skeptical about taking it. But I took some courses and stuff on the side, but completed my degree in ed policy because I thought that was just a better fit for me. And then I followed my husband out here. We live in Salt Lake City, Utah now, and then I heard about a conference coming into town, instructional design conference, literally 2 weeks after we landed here. And I was like, okay, great. You're set with your career. I'm ready to go back to my career. I'm going to really look into this and see if I want to do it as a trade, and signed up for the conference, went, had a great time. Got certified in Articulate Storyline and in Captivate, and then started applying around for jobs. From there, I was hired at Allen Communications right here in Salt Lake City. They're a great place to learn from, a lot of really wonderful tools and resources for instructional design. They work on some Fortune 500 projects and things like that too. So they're a big name. And it was just a really good opportunity for me to work there. I started off as an instructional writer, and then a course developer, and then segued on to other places from there. A lot of people who come into Allen kind of stay there for a bit, learn what they need to learn, and then go off to other spaces and places. So I found a colleague of mine that I ended up interviewing with over at the International Academies of Emergency Dispatch 911 training. So I developed 911 training for dispatchers here in Salt Lake City, and then did that for a couple of years, started freelance and remote for a couple of years, met Heidi somewhere in there along the way. We started complaining together about applying for jobs and things like that, and she's laughing. Applying for jobs and how difficult it is, and how screwy the job descriptions are, and how long and lengthy and horrible. And yeah, I'm sure if I find that talk, I'll share that with you guys at some point. But yeah, so I was applying around and luckily got hired at the state. So I now work for the state of Utah in mental health and suicide, substance abuse training. And so I've been there now for about 2 years. I give talks in L&D. I help out with career coaching in L&D, especially for newbies. I really empathize with people who are coming in from the teaching field into instructional design from your various places, and have been able to successfully tailor my resume and things like that, for like resume and portfolio, to give some kind of pieces for hire. And so I'm happy to share whatever insights I have with you guys.
So we all had some pretty unique experiences. Well, there's some overlap with the English, and had that with two. Wait, Christy was counseling though, right? But higher education, I don't know. I worry about it. Worry about the whole thing at this point with the pandemic and everything. It's just bananas to think that we've been doing this for 2 years. What? Oh, aren't we lucky? Welcome back, everybody. Our next session is going to be on Tuesday, February 1st, 2022, from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. I hope, sorry if that time is not the best. It's what I can do. It's what I can offer. So I hope that works for most people. I like that I see people in the chat putting their contact information. Do feel free to connect with me too, if that's helpful for you.
I just had a question about the next one that you mentioned in February. Is that something we get an email about it having attended this one, or something we should look for elsewhere for like signing up for it?
So the best way to make sure that you get the registration links is to sign up for my listserv. And that's within that agenda. But I'm going to drop the registration link into the chat here since you're here right now. It might be useful to you. What I try to do is make it the first Tuesday of every month, unless there's some reason I can't do it on that day.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And there's the registration link for February. Yeah, February 2nd this year, my youngest son turns 5. I feel like I've made it somewhere. Like, that's it. There's no kids after this one. I'm not doing the 0 to 5 anymore. It feels pretty great. Any questions? Thank you, Christy. Questions about interviewing, e-portfolios.
I have one.
Yep.
All right. I plan to start applying and hopefully having interviews no earlier than March, so I can honor my teacher contract to the best of my ability. I'm going to also do the idle courses in January. That's my plan. Other than doing that and connecting and networking, what are some things that a person trying to get instructional design, what is something that I did not mention, or maybe what's something you know now that you wish you knew when you were in my shoes?
I'll say 2 things, and I'll try to be quick about it. Something I just said earlier to Adrienne was I wish that I had valued what I was bringing into the profession more than I did, because I thought when I started, oh, everyone else is so much further along in this field than I am. But a lot of people coming to the field of instructional design, it's their second or third or fourth career. And so they are going to value wherever you're coming from because you're different than them. And that's what makes the field so great. The second thing I would say, I know you mentioned, you want to honor your teacher contract, but if you get an opportunity, just go. I mean, seriously, there's going to be someone that will take the job. And, I know you got that heart and like all the students, they'll be fine. Somebody will do that job. And I will tell you what my husband told me. He was like, you will feel so sad if you think that you can't be replaced, and you can be replaced. And you should not find that to be a sad thing. You should take comfort in that, because it gives you the freedom to leave and find something that makes you more fulfilled, if that's what you want to do right now and at this point in your life. So I'm giving you permission, Alan. Okay, you don't have to honor that whole contract. Yeah. Andrea knows what I'm saying.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Heidi or Christy or Rubina, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I did that several times. We're living in such a weird time right now. I'm surprised that you guys are even thinking about your contracts, and everything has changed. The world has changed. We're in this huge, large exodus nationally and internationally of people really rethinking and reevaluating their lives and their careers, especially due to COVID. You're just joining in the fun. Don't wait, don't worry. And just apply. It takes a while for you to find something that you like. It takes a while for you to get your resume together. It takes a while for all those parts and pieces to go in. Don't wait, apply. Even if you don't think that you're gonna fit in all of the qualifications, apply. Let them tell you what they do or don't want. Just go for it.
I love what Heidi put here in the chat. she says, don't, where'd it go? Don't
Slightly
kill yourself.
morbid.
Oh, Heidi, do you want to say it? Where are you?
Sure. Yeah, don't kill yourself over a job that would post your job before your obituary is published. That is what an older, wiser person said to me once when I was just burnt out at this job. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Yeah, totally changed my perspective.
Yeah.
But it's so true, you know?
True. Christy, did you want to add anything?
Oh, I was just going to say that what helped me the most was continuing to talk to instructional designers that were already doing the work. A lot of what happened for me in my first interview is that I just didn't understand their processes and like what like their role looked like and what even content development looked like. I just didn't really fully get it. But the more I talked to folks and really kind of got into their shoes, the more I understood and then could articulate it for myself, even though I didn't have the experience. That really helped. And I will second what Rubina said with applying. Absolutely. Even if you don't meet the qualifications, I got to a final round interview for a job that needed 3 years of experience and I had 0. You can do it. And I love what Heidi said too, because so much of this world is really focused on work and work is never going to be your all. So if you're in a position where you're like, I don't feel valued, I don't feel safe, I feel like I'm in a toxic environment, I think you can move on to another role. And there's no like, maybe there's some unspoken rules around that. Like, oh, you should stay within a job for 2 years. Oh, 1 year. I was in a job for 9 months and I was like, no, thank you. I'm not interested in this anymore. It's not working for me. I just didn't go along with my supervisor and that's okay. You don't have to get along with everybody. I like to think that I try to make it work, and was able to move to a new role with a better team that fit for me, more pay, remote, like there are things out there. I think Rubina really talked to that as well. Like we're kind of in like this revolutionary place with work and what it looks like. So I think you have a little bit of fire underneath you to get what you need and what you want out of a job.
Yeah. I want to get to one of the questions in the chat. Lauren's asking, is it possible to apply and let employers, recruiters know that you're not available to work until a certain date? I want to mention that.
I don't mention it until you have an offer.
Yeah.
And when I had an offer, I was trying to finish my master's and I was trying to get it paid for. Okay. ASU is paying for my master's and I had to keep at ASU until October 15th, but I got offered the job on October 1st and she needed somebody to start like now. So I asked if I could start till November. I asked if I could start on November 1st after I had an offer, but I didn't say anything until I had an offer. And I think that's totally okay to do that.
It's definitely okay to do that. I mean, I feel like if you tell them at the beginning, oh, I can't start working until this month, they're gonna be like, you don't sound very interested in this. They're not gonna really give you much notice.
That's kind of what I was worried about because I was more asking about like longer term than a couple of weeks, but I'm having the same kind of struggle that Alan mentioned. It's like I don't know when to start applying because I 100% agree with everything that was said about if you're burnout, if it's toxic, you need to take that opportunity. I feel fortunate in that I'm ready to leave education at the end of this, or at least, in the classroom at the end of this year, but I have a desire to finish the year. So I feel like I'm in a tricky spot where I don't know when is too early and if they would feel like I'm wasting their time. If
they won't feel that way. I still think like it's not too early to get started because, if you don't get a job, that's fine, right? You just get the practice, right? I get the desire to finish out the school year, but sometimes you just have to strike while the iron is hot. And if there's an opportunity, put yourself first. I know, your teachers, I'm not going to put myself first. It's so selfish. Well, yeah, it's selfish, but you have to be your best advocate. They're going to be fine. they'll be okay. Don't worry.
Yeah, and I talked to an educator who was offered a role. Her hiring manager was a former educator as well. She found out after she started the interview process that it would be financially a nightmare for her to quit before like 3 months or something. She had like, I forget what it was. I don't think it was public student loan forgiveness, but I can't remember what the terms of her contract were. But the hiring manager actually waited for her those 3 whole months for her to start. So it is possible. I mean, on the other hand, they could be like, we've been waiting to fill this role for 2 months before we got approval for the head count. But in that case, that wasn't the job for you anyway.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I always like to end on time because it's the end of the day. I'm definitely tired. I don't know about you. I really want to thank Heidi and Christy and Rubina for joining us today. I'm just so grateful, always so grateful when people share their time and their experiences, because it's really, I know it's really encouraging to everybody here. Just to know, like, man, those people did it. Maybe I can do it too. And if you're wondering that, you totally can. It is totally possible. I hope that you join me next month on February 1st from 7 to 8 p.m. And have a great night, everybody. And feel free to leave me feedback on that form. And I'll see you later.